right? I mean, we all were able to see that much at least. It has been floating around that his contract with the MIBR has been up, so he would be a free agent. So, I mean, it is an interesting thing that STYKO brought up. But I don't even think that the first case is necessarily that simple. Like, okay, even if we're doing a swap in IGL for an IGL, like, who do you get if you're looking for an IGL if you're FaZe?
Literally no one. There's no one on the market that would fit FaZe in terms of just being a IGL. So
right.
I feel like just continuing with NiKo as the hybrid thing is the best option probably for them, and then find a fifth player. What is going on? Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, I think the stream is stabilized again. So
are we stable? Can you guys hear me also?
Yeah. I'll just continue. I think there's no simple pick for FaZe, in terms of IGLing. Maybe someone that isn't a classic IGL who will take on the role just like NiKo is doing. In the end, Glaive, when he came into Astralis, wasn't the in-game leader for Heroic either. It was Snappy. He was just being the secondary caller, but it worked out. So maybe they can find someone that kind of dabbled in it, maybe secondary calling, stuff like that. Maybe there's someone, and this is something that players would know just talking to each other and behind the scenes and stuff like that. Someone that is maybe open to switching from a maybe star player-ish or a support-ish role to a more main in-game leader, have NiKo being the secondary as he was before in FaZe. I mean, he was always pretty active, even when Karrigan was calling. NiKo was the guy that gave in a lot of information, a lot of ideas, calling on the second site, on CT sides and stuff like that. So I feel like they can find, there are options, but it's not a classic IGL. There's no simple solution for their problem. So, even though my kind of feeling for FaZe, maybe a bit radical one, was to get Chris J and Sunny in, and that would be interesting in the I don't know. I feel like that could be a option.
So, Martin, if you look at the market for
just leave Martin and go to FaZe.
Thank you.
The proposition you had with bringing in someone who's more supportive, utility guy. I mean, who can you see out there who might be a pick? Then is there anyone that you think is fitting?
I was actually looking at NA players at that point.
NA supportive players.
Honestly, if FaZe bring in automatic, that would be dope. I don't know. I don't know. I seriously don't know, but there might be people. Even in-game leaders. Maybe I would switch just from searching from Europe into NA as well. I don't know who, though.
Nitro to FaZe.
Nitro to FaZe. Steel to FaZe.
Steel.
That would be a first, basically, right? We see Europeans coming over here all the time, but we haven't really seen a North American player go the other way. Not since Steel back in Source, really.
Yeah.
Really, there are no examples of it?
There were almost this super team with Scuttle and Hiko, right?
Oh, that was
2013?
Okay.
14, yeah.
14. Yeah, there were rumors.
What was that? Stream Hiko?
I don't remember.
Noski.
Maybe Fox from Spain? I don't know. But anyway, they should hurry up because I think roster log is at 1st January, isn't it? For the major.
Correct.
It's getting close, yeah.
Well, we will know soon.
Here's another question: Where does this leave Karrigan? Is Karrigan gonna pull an MSL and take refuge in North America and all of a sudden start top fragging because we're a joke?
Oh.
Karrigan to Liquid instead of Nitro. I'm just throwing people.
Not sure, man. Not sure. I'm wondering if you'll do the thing we talked about before, Martin, with you going back to, landing some kind of, I won't say cushion job, but like a position where he can bring up people back home. I mean, obviously he's been he's been in this Danish scene forever. You know, played in a lot of teams with almost, I mean, at least a lot of the top players right now. If he'll go back and raise up some peeps, and one of the, you know, go to the cave, pick up like the best eggs, and go hatch them in his own house. You know.
I saw someone put out a tweet with like a Danish free agent Karrigan led team or something.
Yeah, it was.
Looks good because Danish players are.
It was Risk, the caster guy. I actually liked his tweet a lot. I mean, it's impossible.
It was like refresh Karrigan
to IGL, and you'll have Dragonfly,
and Ston and Dragonfly.
Yeah, and then refresh Blamef as a support player.
I mean, isn't that just Fraxters though with Blamef and Karrigan, and like Refresh just left that team?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't think he left the team because he dislikes the team that much. I mean, there were like someone said something about like internal issues.
No, they were just
like, it's a dead team. They have an org, and everyone's gonna be looking for individual options.
They were just
because
not.
It's easier.
I don't think they could agree on exactly which way to go after the thing was like burning down. The house was burning down, you know. And my guess is that he's probably getting some offers that are from teams that aren't able to like pick up an entire squad, and he got some offers that way around. So that's probably why that happened. But yeah, he probably won't go back to playing with those guys. But there are definitely some free agents around that Karrigan could, you know, take under his wings. But I'm just wondering if he feels like he's lost the top 5 edge yet. If he thinks that. If he can also see that what many fans have been saying about him, you know, that he can't really keep up with the skills, you know, needed to stay on top. And then what do you guys think about that? Because every once in a while he'll show up, right? He had some pretty good tournaments.
I don't know. I think like his legacy is pretty good as well. I mean, overall, I don't think like people can trash talk him that much just because what he did with FaZe, where FaZe was before him, and then after he left. Of course, they did additional roster changes, but just even that first phase that when he came in became like a decent team, when before it was kind of a joke. Let's say they were like good players that couldn't do anything. I think just that alone and what he did with ESM and Astralis shortly it's a good track record overall. Maybe he can't be the number one in-game leader of the number one team in the world, but if he can be that for the top 5 and still win tournaments. It's not like Liquid that didn't win a single. I mean, they won Malta now, but he can still win tournaments. Even reach the top 1 for some portion of time. I don't think you can really talk too much shit about Karrigan overall.
I don't think anyone was it? Or did I secretly do that?
You were implying like maybe he can't keep up. It doesn't matter if you're winning. I don't think it matters that much how much he can. Drag or anything.
Oh, let's move on to the Brazilian scene. I guess we touched upon a little bit with Cristiano
I feel like we won't go through half of these topics this episode.
Yeah, we might not. Well, we'll go over some real quick. Especially because this one we already talked a little bit about. But it's looking like right now that it won't be KNG, right? Who's going to MIBR? That Phelps will come back, and they will recreate the roster that they themselves said they weren't really happy with for a while. What do you guys think about if that comes to fruition? The Phelps coming back into MIBR.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea. It's kind of reunion of previous lineup, which is kind of what I've been experiencing lately as well. Coming back to mouse sports, and I want to see how they approach it, whether they change a lot of things compared to what was working before but not working ideally maybe. I want to see whether they will change positions, whether they will change strategies they were using, this aggressive freestyle with Phelps that they had. I really want to see how they approach it and maybe learn something from this move for us as well. I always try to be as beneficial as possible.
You
don't think for that coldzera interview to actually give information about stuff, because I know
I loved it.
Me and you talked a few times and said coldzera interview is best.
Coldzera interview is the best because I don't know how common players just think about it, but he's really given insight that isn't that obvious at the first time. So you'll actually learn about CS:GO when you read what he has to say, and I that was my kind of idol in giving interviews. I want to give the same, something new, just generic, boring answers.
Huh.
I would never watch interview with generic, boring answers or read it. So I want the readers that read interview about me to actually spend this time well, and when they close the HLTV website or whatever site they're on, I want them to feel, okay, I learned this and I'm gonna remember this for a long time, right? And
Yeah, I remember.
Cultura is really good at this.
Yeah,
But
I
I got
remember.
into trouble multiple times for this, that I'm giving way too much information about our game style and game plan, and I understand it. I got some warnings from my team.
Next time the Mouse Sports legal team is gonna come after you for like
Yeah, I'm
exposing,
afraid. That's why I'm kind of not giving interviews anymore when I don't have to, because I feel like I'm just gonna say something bad and then I'm gonna get in trouble. And what's the point in that, right?
I remember that actually when we were talking about discussing the latest interview I did with you. I put forward the questions, and you answered them, and you were like, "Oh, you sure this is interesting? Like, are you really sure that you that you actually people actually want to read this? I mean, sometimes you just gotta answer right and then have it flow."
Yeah, that's true. I don't want to just. I want to. When I write these answers or told these answers, I want them to be somewhat knowledgeable. Like I can teach people.
We're definitely thankful for you feeling that way, I guess.
Oh, thank you.
Back to the MIBR thing. Obviously, people will be saying, maybe people that didn't follow Phelps that much recently. I mean, I can't blame him because he hasn't been really in the spotlight.
Yeah.
But he actually took on the IGL role for INTZ, which is something you wouldn't really expect from knowing Phelps back in the day, and just seeing him kind of as a guy. He's kind of like laid back, quiet, and stuff like that. But it obviously has been working decently. I'm not gonna say that there's some world beaters, but in the NA region they've been doing well, qualifying for stuff. So he obviously isn't the same Phelps that he was when he was in SK back in the day. So I think that's the biggest difference that this roster will have comparing to the old one. Obviously, STYKO will also have some new stuff, bringing it back from Liquid. The old Brazilian guys, will, like the trio that's in MIBR now, will have new ideas, playing with the North American team, new coach, all of that stuff. I think like Phelps will be the difference maker from that roster they had before, in my eyes.
Do you think, Joe?
If it happens, of course, not confirmed.
What I think is I totally understand the circumstances that have led to Phelps apparently being the top choice for the fifth spot on this team. What I don't understand is if it is true that STYKO and Zeus are apparently the masterminds of this move away from Liquid to MIBR. That doesn't really make much sense to me. I don't see why, if you are those guys on Liquid and everything is copacetic, that you want to kind of shake up a good thing. Maybe they felt that they had reached a natural ceiling in Liquid, and feel like if nothing else, something different is better, even though something different is actually something that you've tried before. I don't know. This is something that's going to have to be like borne out in the server when we actually see this team playing and see what their results are.
I mean, I know you said that you were kind of anxious to see if they can make it work, Martin, but I just remember how Fallen was talking about that lineup. They were obviously winning some events with it and they were doing great, but he was like, this is not what we want. We can't change our roster, and this is not the lineup I want. And he was like going on about it. I'm curious how that must feel like, being the guy that then comes back into the lineup. I mean, if this is also because there was no other choice really, then what kind of mentality do you think it will take for Phelps to be successful?
I think like Phelps also, when that happened, he
wanted to leave.
The guy that wanted to leave as well. He
true,
just wasn't happy with how everything was working out.
True.
So.
Yeah.
And mostly it is, even though like every roster change, everyone wants to leave. It's always like both sided. No one has ever kicked in CS. Like that's kind of bullshit. So I don't really believe everyone that says it. But I feel like in this case it kind of was correct. So it's not like he's been outcast and then like, oh, come back. I think he realized that at that time that Phelps didn't work in that SK, and that he just needed to find some different way or a different place to kind of find his CS game.
I just think he truly reinvented himself. He was in-game leading his team. He got into great showings in North America. They got in ESL Pro League finals. Phelps was in-game leading, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think he just became more stable, less explosive player, and this is exactly what MIBR play style kind of wants. These kind of players that are going to keep their ground, keep their cool in stressful situations, and this in-game leading, I think, forced Phelps back into the position where, he has to be not the guy that just pushes W and run everywhere and kill everyone, but he actually
Break on W.
started thinking about the game differently. When you always do when you become a game leader, you start thinking differently about enemies, about anti-stratting, about game plans, whatever. So I think this is something that maybe triggered Fallen and his team into giving him the chance, and Phelps took it. I think it's going to be a great move, honestly.
All right. Also, I know a move that you think is great is the recent decision. This is the next topic, by the way. The recent decision by ESL to make their Pro League, at least in the EU and NA, into a LAN. So we'll now have something similar to the E-League, stuff that was going on beforehand. We're going to have offline leagues instead. I know just before we went on, you were kind of praising it. And this is obviously to replace the massive online leagues that have kind of plagued, at least in my mind, the CS scene. I guess you can also attest to that. What do you think about this move, Martin?
I think it's great. It's what we asked for as a players. It's I don't know what the information has been revealed so far, so I'm not gonna really talk about it. But I just want to say that the days in the city that it's happening. What is it? Is it
It's going to be Leicester,
Leicester, yeah.
European.
So the days that you actually spend in this city to play these leagues are going to be super short. So it's going to be like quick grip, And if you win this, you obviously are in the finals. No. If you win this group, you're actually in the finals. You're not going to the round 2 group, right? So what's great about this is the schedule. I think they worked it well. This is what we asked for, and I can say for my team that this is a great change. Only downside would be probably just the travel. I understand they have office in Leicester, but I remember the travel